Announcements, October 21st, today is the end of the first quarter. Is that possible? Today is the end of the first quarter?
It's real.
Okay, well, it's right here in black and white, so for grades K to 12. November 2nd, 2021 is in-service day number 3, no students. It's also election day. November 4th, 2021, board meeting, work session, 6:30 p.m., back at the Fairfield High School Catherine D. Milligan Community Room. Board member comments. Mr. Shorter, would you like to start tonight?
Yes, and if it pleases the board, I have a presentation. I have a couple of slides that I'd like to show. I think it's important to show them. As I continue to worry about our caseload as compared to our neighbors, I just want to keep it in front of the board and just be consistent with the information that I've reported before. I have it here if it's okay.
So will you just share that with us?
We don't have a screen.
We don't have a
We don't
way
have
to...
to- Oh, you're right.
Could
Okay,
you-
so I'll just tell you. Sure. So the report that I read the last time we were together, that was the report by Cincinnati Children's, as mentioned by one of our parents. That report did state that there was a 60% difference. And at the time, I did report that comparing our district to Lakota, my data said that that was consistent. So as of October 20th, we have 350 positive cases. We have 73 positive cases for our staff and 1,500 quarantine kids. During our last board meeting, we were at 289 cases, so we've increased by 51 cases. So when I compared that data to Lakota, I think it's important to remember, look at that data as a cases per school basis. Use that rate. And when I compared it last week, or the last time we were together, Fairfield had 261 cases total for 11 schools. That gave us a rate of 23.7. Lakota had a rate of 13.96. They had 349 cases for 25 schools. So for each individual school, that is an opportunity for spread. And so you don't have all the kids together at one time, so you don't look at it as population. The best way to look at the rate and to see truly how we're doing is to look at it per school. So the last time we were together, it was a 59% increase for the district with no mask mandate, and that's us. It was 59%, and as of this week, it is 60%. And so those numbers are consistent, and in fact, looking at those numbers this week, for 350 cases for 11 schools, we're at 31.8%, so we've actually increased a little bit. Our caseload, our rate is 31.8%. Lakota's rate is 19.4, even though they have 485 cases. If you look at their 25 schools, there are some schools with 0 cases. So you have to look at that rate, and I just want to continue to emphasize that we are still in a pandemic, and even though the board has opted to not carry a mask mandate, it doesn't mean that the pandemic is over or that our cases and the data actually shows that we're doing okay. Compared to our neighbor, I just want you to understand we should be 60% lower with our cases. And if you look at it from a case per school load, we are not where our neighboring district is. Our cases could be lower by 60%. That's consistent with the data. It's just math. I'm not trying to make anything up. I just want to point that out. And I want to urge the public, because I understand that we are not passing a mandate. I understand that. However, I just want to point this out. The mask that I'm wearing tonight is called a KF84 mask. You can get them on Amazon, KF94, sorry. It is very comfortable. It has an effective filter, it has a nose piece, and it basically protects, if there's a student, basically you won't have that mask sucking back in on you, so it's pretty comfortable. So I just want to encourage the community to keep in mind that we're still in a pandemic. We've had 1,500 kids total in quarantine. Let's try and be mindful of that, because in addition to the quarantines, what I would have expected to see, I would expect that parents would be here knocking on our doors, wondering about what is our plan for recovery to make sure that we get our test scores back up where they should be, because we've had such an impact. You know, that's important. This is a school district. We're here to educate kids. And regardless of the politics surrounding masks, we are here to educate our kids. And so when we continue to have these high numbers of quarantines and high numbers of cases, I still say we need to be aware that that might come with a cost. You know, I just don't want us to forget it. And so in spite of not having a mask mandate, I'm just going to point out there are some effective items out there that parents could utilize for their younger kids. K through 6, they have not been able to get the vaccine, which, you know, I do think that that's important. Since they're not able to get the vaccine, I just want to point out that there are some things that you can do that will make it a little bit more comfortable. We are still in a pandemic. Let's not forget that. Let's try and protect ourselves. You know, one of the other issues that the data tells us is for our district, with our school caseload, we've had 73 positives for our teachers. Now, Lakota has had 71 total, and I've given you the rate, 25 schools, 11 schools. And so let's just be mindful of the fact that we're still in a pandemic, and let's take some abatements on our own, regardless of what the board mandates. If it's not in their will, it's not in their will, but parents still have the power, they have the ability to keep their kids safe and in school, and this mask will get you out of quarantine. And so, you know, I said it from the very beginning when I started these conversations, and I'm saying it now. Wear a mask, avoid a quarantine, and let's keep our quarantine numbers lower, keep our kids in school, keep our teachers safe. And so that's really the most important thing that I wanted to say. Congratulations to the kids on a wonderful homecoming. I had a chance to go out there and peep around. Of course, I didn't let my daughter know that I was there, but it was gorgeous. The staff did an incredible job. I was so proud of that. They were outside in a healthier, you know, safe environment. They didn't have to wear their masks due to the lower risk, and they partied like rock stars. And I am very pleased about that. So thank you so much for indulging me in my conversation. That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Shorter, when you share that presentation with us, would you also include the number of students in each of those Lakota school buildings so that we can compare that as well?
Definitely.
Because obviously they have like 1.6,
yeah,
or 1.6 times the number of students we have, but more than double the number of buildings. So it'd be interesting to compare that as well.
Yeah, because...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk?
Well, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Main and the students, Mr. Nash, Mrs. Gillespie, Mr. Sathiam, and Mr. Kashiana. I apologize if I chopped those names out, but thank you, students, for speaking. You did very well. And those clubs are going to help you succeed in life and bring other introverted kids, students, out knowing that those clubs are available and that you're leading them to visit those clubs. Also want to encourage the community. There's so many events going on right now. The weather's nice. We're fortunate to have 50, 60-degree weather in October. So there's a lot of fall festivals, there's a lot of trunk or treat stuff going on, there's a lot of parks to visit, if I didn't mention that yet. Visit the parks, but there's a lot of fun stuff going on. So get out as a family and enjoy this weather. And thank you, Mr. Birding and Ms. Shorter for that. Thank you, Mr. Birding, for asking for that presentation. Ms. Shorter, thank you for presenting that. We appreciate that, and I'd like to see that too. Just again, with comparing Fairfield to Lakota, again, in my eyes, it's not apples to apples. 25 buildings, newer buildings, larger classrooms, student ratio I don't think is the same. So I'd be interested in seeing what that is myself, so thank you for requesting that. The students are very happy. I was in a Creekside today and just saw kids being kids. Some had masks on, a lot didn't, but they were being kids. They were learning, having fun, and I think this year we're going to see an uptick in those scores. I think the scores from the students from all schools, all school districts around, if I remember correctly, was reported after 2020. So that was a mess for everybody, every district. It was messy for kids, messy for parents, messy for teachers, admin. I think Fairfield did a great job, thanks to Mr. Smith and his team, of walking through that. Now we have hot spots available for a lot of kids that didn't have that before. So there's a lot more accessibility for learning at home, virtual, in student or in the classes. So students, you're doing a great job. Staff, you're doing a great job. And Mr. Smith, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mrs. Gunner?
I just wanted to thank everyone here from across the roads tonight, the administrators and the students. It was great to hear. It's great to hear about all the schools when we get to hear from, especially when we get to hear from students and get their perspective on what's going on. I like being here tonight. This is cool. I told Mr. Martin before the meeting started, I wouldn't mind if we kind of rotated and visited a different school every so often, just for the different experience and a change of scenery a little bit. And then actually, because most of us, well, it's my daughter's first year, but, you go through with the school your kid is in, and maybe you'll never get to West or you'll never get to South. So I would be interested in the future of talking about, doing a meeting at a different school every so often, if we could do that. I also want to thank Mrs. Shorter for her diligence in presenting us information about COVID at the meetings. And I've been thinking about this a lot because at the beginning of the school year, if you would have asked me, I'd have put my hand on the Bible and said, by now we're going to have cases doubling every week, and this is going to get bad if we don't have masks. And it hasn't been that way, thankfully, thank God. And I kind of rack my brain sometimes, what is different? What is different? And of course, there's personal behavior and whatnot. But I was thinking back to the conversation we had last year, and I believe Mrs. Shorter sort of spearheaded it, about the air filtration and using the MERV 13 air filters. And in all of the information that I've researched and that we've gotten, a lot of people have sent me a study that's on the CDC's website, but I'll mess it up. But basically they were saying that study showed that filtration had a, what did they say, statistically significant effect on spread. And so I just wanted to recognize that that light bulb went on, oh, we had that conversation. And Mrs. Shorter was a really big advocate for let's improve the filtration. So thank you very much for that too. But otherwise, I hope everybody has a nice weekend and a safe Halloween if they're participating.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Begley?
Thank you. As a proud graduate of Fairfield, class of 1983, this was my high school cafeteria, so brought back a number of memories. Not all of them fond, but most of them. So it's great to be back at the old high school. I just want to say we just had a tremendous turnout for the parade, for the homecoming parade. It was wonderful. It was so great to see all the kids out doing their thing and the community out supporting us. This administration made a decision a long time ago about having an outdoor homecoming on October 9th. Took a real chance there, but thank goodness the weather cooperated, and they just had a wonderful event, as the board, Mrs. Shorter, everyone has alluded to. I'm just so happy that turned out well, and the kids got to have a good time. That hasn't been the case the past couple of years so much. Only comments tonight. Thank you.
Hey, I also want to comment on homecoming parade. It was great to have it again. And I think, if I remember correctly, that the Grand Marshal's in charge of the weather, so Roger, great job on ordering the weather. So, in all seriousness, it was also very good to see the community appreciation night that Mr. Smith put together. It's good to see both Fairfield Township and Fairfield City officials come together and get recognized and have a little bit of stewardship. I think that the relationship that the schools and the city and the township have currently has never been better. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Mr. Smith has opened up the communications with the city and the township and the schools to come together and have really good conversations. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Also, I had the opportunity to teach in a classroom here last week. I was in Mr. Tim Lewis's class, and he brought in students from, I think, 2 other classes, and we talked, it was their Strategies for Success class. Once a quarter, I try to come into the school, into Mr. Lewis's class, and teach it, just talk a little bit about my story, and we talk about setting goals, having being a lifelong learner, and you can set your goals as high as you want, and life may treat you a little differently, and your plan may change, but your goals shouldn't. And so you may have to go about achieving those goals a different way than you originally planned, but don't lose sight of that, and believe in yourself. And so it was great communication. Again, I was in front of 5 classrooms, and the students wrote me thank you cards, which was very nice. I got those last night. And 2 things that they talked about the most in the thank you card was the ketchup soup story and the fact that I said, guys, it's okay to have a wife that makes more money than you, because life is good. And they all commented on it. A lot of them commented on that. That was great. I said, hey, it's great, you know, so, because I have that. But it's great to see the students, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do that next quarter. And so that was a lot of fun. And so that's all I have. I don't think there's a need for executive session, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That was quick. Okay, Mrs. Gundro and Mr. Clark, any questions or comments? Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Gundrum.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Birdie.
Yes.
Mr. Begley.
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter.
Yes.
Motion passes. We adjourn at 7:30 p.m., 7:39 p.m. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight.